You're listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Shamapande. Thanks for joining us today for Let's Get Surety. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the AFSB credential and how it can be important to your career as a surety professional. Today with me, I've got my co-host, Mark McCallum. Hey, Mark.
As always, it's a pleasure to be here, Kat.
Along with Mark, we have our guest, Jason Terrell, who's with the Institutes. Hi, Jason.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
And we also have NASBP past president, Larry McMahon with Alliant Insurance Services Incorporated, and Ralph Pulver with Travelers. Sorry, go ahead, Larry. It's great to have you.
Thanks for including us.
You too, Ralph.
Thank you, Kat.
Well, to kick us off and get us started today, Jason, can you tell us a little bit more about the Institutes and the AFSB credential?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. As I think about this podcast and what we're trying to accomplish, I was trying to figure out the best way to organize it. But I can't get too far down the road without first acknowledging how great NASBP is for us as a partner. I know we made it official a couple years ago, but it's a pretty long history of working together. And so, Mark, Kat, you and the team, we just really appreciate working with all of you and all the great work you do on behalf of your members. So definitely wanted to address that.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Yeah, that is terrific.
Yeah, it's just a great relationship. So a little background. So I'm responsible for business relations at the Institutes. And so one of the great things about my job is that I get the opportunity to work with a lot of our partner associations or industry groups. And so with that, that's how I got to know Mark and Kat and the team. And we started talking about ways that we could potentially work together to enhance what we're doing, what you're doing, and ultimately on behalf of the industry and society. So those not familiar with the Institutes, we're pretty much known as a designation certification educational organization. And that's really our bread and butter, and we're very proud of that. I think what most people don't realize, or a lot of people that aren't as close to it, how much we've evolved over the last few years. And so within the last 5 years, we now have 13 brands plus the Institute's brand that are under our umbrella. So, and even within the last 2 years, we've added 9 brands. So we've done a lot of growing.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been quite a ride, no doubt about it. So it's everything from, the Griffith Foundation, which supports public policy education, to a couple of member associations. We do public policy research as well. We bought a publication, which is Risk and Insurance. And in the middle of all that, we also started a blockchain consortium on behalf of the industry. So we're definitely trying to keep our pulse on where the industry is, where we can help out, where it makes sense to partner with other organizations. And really, we're pretty mission focused. And so when we look at doing something, whether it's a partnership, an affiliation, a project, it really just comes down to the simple statement: how can we help those in the industry, help society as a whole? So when it comes down to it, that's what we're really looking to do, and which is why working with NASBP through AFSB, it helps us get to more of the audience, and we ultimately believe it makes better professionals. So it's been a fun ride.
So, Jason, we keep using the acronym AFSP. I think we all know what that means on this podcast, but for our listeners, why don't you tell us what that acronym stands for?
Yeah, sure. That's should have been table 6, right? So it's the Associate in Fidelity and Surety Bonding credential, and so it really goes back to, I believe the founding year was 1991 when we worked with NASBP and a couple of other groups to develop the program. The idea was for those working in surety, probably at the more medium to advanced level, there was a need for a credential. And so we developed that program, and we're proud to say, as of today, we have over 2,200 completers in the program. Just some really basic information around it. It is 5 parts plus an ethics component. So that would include 3 specific courses on surety, and then 2 parts of our other designation, CPCU, which is the accounting and also the legal side of it. So, and the average time to complete the program is somewhere around 15 to 21 months. So that's the basics of the program. I think one other thing worth mentioning is that we are working with NASBP right now to revamp the program. As far as what we're looking at is across the board in all of our educational products is we've seen a pretty major shift in how people prefer to learn. So it used to be that people could do very intense learning in one sitting. But what we know now is it's much more what we call distracted learning. And so things like video, podcasts, images. So we're trying to implement more of that. And unfortunately, fortunately, we're going to do it. But we were going to come to your annual meeting this year and film some of your experts to include in that content. Unfortunately, with everything going on, that didn't happen. But we're still working on that project to make it a better product for your members.
Well, we certainly value our relationship with the institutes, and particularly on the AFSP credential, because it really truly is the only surety-specific credential out there, and it has really served the educational needs of the surety profession for, as you said, since 1991. So we think it's a very special program, and one that many of our own members are very proud to have that credential and to maintain it and to interest other kind of emerging talent in the industry to try to achieve that. Jason, maybe tell us a little bit more about maybe the components, particularly the content components of the program, if you would.
Yeah, so I don't... Unfortunately, I don't have the outline in front of me, but I've been through this material quite a bit. So I think what you'll see is the intro course is going to be basically the foundational courses around surety bonding. And then it'll start building up to more of the advanced concepts around contractual and sort of that the more technical details of the program. So what we found is what we built the courses around is basically reaching out to professionals to figure out what's important to them. And what we're trying to do is make it what I would consider more engaging content and also what I would consider more application-based. And so the program was designed basically by professionals, and then we implemented it. So all of the courses are geared towards really helping all of you do a better job. And then we capstone it with insurance accounting principles and then insurance legal principles. And then the final component, which is very important to us, is an ethical course that we require someone to take. Complete the designation. So that's also an online course that we think is a really important component of the program.
And you really cover kind of all facets of the surety marketplace, right? So not only do you cover contract surety topics, but I believe you also delve into commercial surety as well.
Yep. That's correct, yes. So if it's important to the professionals, then we want to make sure we include it, and that's definitely included.
That's great. And I know you had alluded earlier that you will refresh the course as well as the delivery of that. We're very privileged to be able to provide kind of insights and guidance on that. And we're very thankful for that.
But yeah, it's obvious that you are the experts. So we'd be crazy not to listen to you and what's important to you. So we certainly appreciate that, and we're grateful that you work with us on that.
So you've touched on maybe the evolution of it going forward, and maybe a little bit more about how right now it's, at least historically, it's been something that you would do in person, but you're evolving to maybe have that online presence. And do you have a timeline within which you want to accomplish that?
Yeah, so we had a pretty specific timeline. We were looking at putting this together. We wanted it completed by the end of the year. I think, as everybody can appreciate, plans have changed. So I think it's still up in the air as far as an ultimate timing to get that done. But we're actively still working on it to get that done. And so I think we should have a better idea on timeline soon. But we're not talking about an extended period of time. We're looking to get this done pretty quickly.
Great. Well, I know that the credential has been very important in fueling the careers of many surety professionals. And we're very fortunate to have two surety professionals that are proud to have the AFSP credential, Larry McMahon and Ralph Pulver. Larry, kind of in going through as a young surety professional, when did you first achieve the credential, and what did it help you realize about what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so actually, I was lucky enough to start with a surety company that had a very formalized one-year training program. Like Ralph had a similar one. And so we didn't learn from that was not around in '88. So when I moved to Kansas City in 1991, my my company and my branch manager in 1991, when the first class came out, 151, which was the basis of suretyship, he encouraged me to take it in a group study class with a couple other underwriters. And even though I had been trained for a year in surety and then spent a couple of years in the branch in New York, the AFSB course to me was kind of the foundation of not just the fundamentals of surety, but also the background in it. Because usually when you're learning on the job, you're learning how people are teaching you versus having a book that actually you can go back to as a reference guide. So I started in 1991, self-study with a group, and I finished it in 1994. My goal, as Mark knows, and I think Kat and Ralph know, I wanted to be the first one at my surety company to get the designation. I wanted to be, if you're going to be in this industry, you should have this designation or these credentials. If you're going to just play around the ball field here, maybe you don't want it, but you should do it, because if you're going to be in surety and fidelity and commercial surety, it's important to have this designation in my mind. So much so that my daughter now works for a national surety, and her training program is the class. So I've encouraged her to take the classes and continue those classes. I started trying to get my CPCU too, Charter Property Casualty Underwriter designation. I didn't finish it. And I'm telling her, not just to get the AFSB, but if you're going to be in the insurance business, get the CPCU designation too. So that's kind of my background on my end.
So it really laid a solid foundation for you.
Absolutely, Kat. And I require the people that work with me to take at least 151, which is the basis of suretyship. If they're doing commercial surety, take 152. And if they're doing fidelity, 153. So there are, again, the way to do it is a great foundation. Along with NASBP has some great online courses and some certifications too. But the reality is AFSB from the Institute is the designation if you're going to be in the surety bond business.
So if you're hiring, Larry, is this an important credential to see on candidates?
And if we don't see it on them, we actually make them take the classes. So again, it's not really well known. Ralph and I profess to get this designated anyone we talk to, but the reality is not that well known. So if they come to me and they don't have it, we immediately make them do this and a couple of NSBP classes to get their foundation. Because as Kat said, that's the most important thing.
Great. Ralph, what about you? Oh,
sorry. If someone came to you.
I'll echo Larry's comments and add too that personally it was an affirmation of being in the right career path and choosing the right job, and seeing other CPCU courses and seeing personal lines, commercial lines, and so forth. It really does either tell you you're in the right field or you're not. But it also has been a great foundation for many of the carriers, having used it as the basis or the foundation for their training. And then, as Larry said, there is the experience, the on the job, and the handling of accounts and the soft skills in our business that is separate and distinct from what AFSB offers.
And Ralph, can you tell us a little bit about what led you to get your AFSB?
Yeah, I intrigued as Larry was that, hey, we've got finally a designation for the surety business, and I got mine in 1992, shortly after it came out, and was lucky enough even to be called upon. I want to say it was Lowell Young, if I've got my history right, and Jason, you might have heard of that name. And Lowell asked to form a committee that was kind of his advisory group for the designation, and they would meet and talk about the text material, exams, and so on. And that was back in the early days. So it was fun to help keep the designation thriving.
So just to kind of go back to something, Larry, that you raised, and you see this credential and another credential by the Institute as being very complementary and very helpful in the overall insurance industry. The CPCU, I believe, is the one that you had indicated. Jason, I know you offer a number of credentials, that being one of them. Do you see that kind of natural affinity between credentials?
Actually, that's a great question. I think that's something we work really hard on is making sure our designation programs and even our certification or short courses, they somehow fit together and it makes some kind of cohesive career strategy. I think one of the great things about AFSB is that you're taking the 5 courses plus the ethics, but 2 of them are CPCU. And so you come out with your AFSB designation and you're already 2 parts to credit to CPCU. So you already know what the class is going to be like. You understand it. You get a feel for if it's something you want to continue, and you get the credits. So it's really something we try to encourage people to do, as we believe in lifelong learning. And we think that's just a really natural progression for people to take in their career.
That's great. So how also, as a surety professional, I'll throw it up to Larry or Ralph. So you get this initial credential. One of the things that you indicated is lifelong learning is so important as a surety professional. And this is the springboard for doing that. How else might you go about that?
Oh, Ralph, I'll defer to you, Mr. Teacher.
Sure. I always advocate to our folks that come through the William J. Angel schools when they ask at the end of their experience there, what else can I do to enhance my training or my development? And naturally, AFSB is part of the answer, as well as some of the other offerings by the Institute. So it is a great fit. It's been a professional partnership, and the materials for both AFSB and the other offerings by the institutes are made available at the regional and annual meetings for NASBP. So it's a great it's a great fit, a dovetail fit between the schools and the online learning experiences that NASBP offers, and the virtual webinars as well.
So there's really no reason for people not to know of the opportunities out there for them and to take advantage of that. Larry, was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, so again, I think about this to this day, that having my branch manager in Kansas City, Kevin O'Donnell, kind of encouraged me to do the courses and continue this. That was my foundation to do the CPCU. I use that statutory accounting book all the time, which is the CPCU section of it. But I also refer back to these 3 guides, 151, 152, 153. If I'm going to answer somebody's question on a technical level, it's got great information in there. And then that, I think, led me, I know it led Ralph too. That's why we teach at NASBP Angel Schools, because we want to give back. Because if you're going to be in this industry and can be considered a professional, you should always be continually learning. That's what we preach, is that don't let it end at AFSB or CPCU or at surety schools. Continue to learn.
That's such a great statement about lifelong learning, that you have continued to go back throughout your career to those resources and use them when you are giving technical advice or information.
Absolutely.
So I know I keep saying surety professionals, but that's probably an imprecise term. Are there certain types of folks who should take the AFSB? And I'll throw that up to anyone who wants to answer.
I would never say that anyone shouldn't, Mark, and maybe I'm biased about it, but we hear folks from reinsurance all the way through, the agency brokerage underwriting side, and even people on the insurance side of our business now and again will have the AFSB designation. So it greatly helps given the specialization that happens in our business now that perhaps wasn't as prevalent 30 years ago when you were a surety underwriter and you wrote fidelity, commercial, and contract. And now with a contract underwriter who happens to have taken 153 gets enough knowledge, enough basic technical skills there to say, okay, I do know what that commercial surety bond that was brought up at a meeting with an agency. I can actually respond to that intelligently. Whereas when we become so specialized, our silos become more narrow, don't they?
Right. So do you think it not just applicable to the underwriting side, on the claims side, would you say it's equally important for them to have that understanding about fidelity and surety through the credential?
Well, I would say that's for them to say, but we certainly welcome them, and we've had some great claims and legal people come through the bond schools, and I've seen on occasion some claims personnel that have achieved the designation.
Yeah, I got a comment on this. So in my world as an agent, I'm pretty much 95% of the day I do contract surety. I'll get the commercial surety smattered in, but I'll have some of our other producers come to me and say, what is this fidelity coverage? I refer back to 153 and all that information that's in there because I don't remember Form 24, what it covers, or Form 25, but I can go back to that book and basically use it as a reference guide again to help them answer their questions.
Oh, that's great. I bet you also just having kind of definitions of terms and so forth, you have a ready resource to kind of educate obligees and officials and others, as resource materials to say, how would you define this? And then you can look towards those booklets, those materials, and give them a fast answer.
Yeah, actually, I use that and the contract surety manual that Ralph and I both probably have. We got the first book, we got a surety bonding, but I take a photocopy of whatever page they're asking me a question on. I say, here's the reference guide on it. Here's what it's supposed to do.
That's great.
A terrific resource.
So, Jason, in terms of other resources that you think from the Institute that would interest surety professionals, do you have any others particular in mind?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think we try and cover a pretty broad spectrum of knowledge. Just hearing Larry and Ralph talk, a few things do come to mind. I think, and what I'm hearing as far as, lifelong learning, being a professional, I think what's important is a combination of what would I consider like an AFSB designation, but also attending in-person meetings, taking some of the NASBP seminars. I think that's all really good stuff. I just would encourage people to, sometime if you have a short topic. So if you're interested in insurance innovation, so one of our brands is Insurance Thought Leadership. So I would encourage you to, check that out if you're interested in technology. I think our Risk and Insurance magazine and publication group is a great place to go for up-to-date information. We host over 30 meetings a year, so if there's something that makes sense in one of our meetings, we'd love to have NASBP engage with those. I just think there's just a broad spectrum of things people can engage with, and I think if there's something we're not thinking of, we'd love to hear it. But I also think we do offer quite a bit for people who want to continue to stay up to date, stay professional, and work towards ultimately helping people better just because you're better prepared.
Great. So if you wanted to leave it's somebody who's thinking about getting the credential and you wanted to leave them with one thought on why they should do that, we'll start with Ralph. What do you think that would be?
If they're early in their career, it will help to enhance their, I don't want to say credibility, but their competency, that they've demonstrated a commitment to their profession and to develop themselves professionally, and that may set them apart amongst their peers, and it may also make a statement at the meeting with a new account or a prospect that they're saying, "Hey, I've gone above and beyond what I had to do to get the job. I got the job to be an underwriter or an agent or a broker, and I went and got this designation as well. It can really help serve that, particularly the person that's new and evolving in our business.
Great. Larry, what would be your one thing?
I should echo what I said before, is that if you're going to be in the surety bond business, you better have the only designation that has to involve our business, because it does show that you've taken the second step to be certified, have the designation and the credentials that you are a professional in the surety bond business, period.
And Jason, from the Institute's perspective, why should someone go ahead and get this credential? What would be your one thing?
I think that's a really good question. I guess my answer to that would be just to encourage people to take the journey. We see it all the time where people will take our designations for one set of reasons, whether it's the data we have on how it can help their career or if it's somebody who's motivating them to do that. But what we see over and over again are people who start this journey and go through this journey is it opens a lot of doors. It opens mindset. It opens networks. It provides credibility. It becomes, you're better at your job. You're a better professional. And so I think it's something that's worth doing, just because it's one of those things that you never know what's going to come out on the other side. But it's very hard to find somebody who said, boy, I wish I wouldn't have done that, because it just opens up so much.
Right.
That's a great point. Well, thank you all so much for joining and sharing with us today. And you know what? If you're listening to this and you don't have your AFSB, I think it's probably time to start down that road.
And Jason, where can they go for more information?
Yeah, so if they, I know it's on your website for AFSB, so I'm sure they're familiar with your website, and there's a page there. We also have it on our website, theinstitutes.org. Would be a great place to start. I would also encourage anyone who has questions. We have a great customer success team, and they're really good at answering questions, saying what the journey might be like, and just and they can help from everything from test anxiety to just answering basic course questions. So I would encourage people to engage with them if that would be helpful.
Oh, that is terrific.
A lot of great
Thank you all. Yeah.
A lot of great resources to help you get started. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.